Nate.
Hey.
The Vac's back.
Whoa, Val.
We're back. I'm back. I'm Val. He's Nate. And it's been a while, bro. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been.
It actually feels like this could be twofold, like an episode and a legitimate catch-up, because I haven't seen you in a while. But I'm sure we'll delve into the ridiculous. I'm sure we'll delve into the sublime. And I'm sure that somewhere in between, Nate posits, you'll find something interesting in this episode. Is that right? Is that still your promise? Is that still your promise? That's
the Nate guarantee.
Yeah, that there's something in it for anyone.
Anyone and everyone.
Wow. Where do you want to start? How do we get everyone? What's a universal thing?
Okay, I've got something for you.
Universal.
It's where this episode's brought to you by, not in a financial sense, just in the sense that it has nourished me to this point.
Sponsorship.
Yeah, but not an actual sponsorship. But I'm here because of a new product that I'm really enjoying. It's called Ninja Creami.
What the hell is that? It sounds like either something you eat or something you fuck.
It sounds a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, it's either food or fuck.
It's the ninja part. Ninja Creami. The creamy does sound a little bit saucy.
Well, or food.
Yeah, so it's an ice cream maker.
Okay, so it is food.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ninja's a brand of, I've got like an air fryer that's the Ninja variety. And it's awesome. It does like pressure cooking and all this other stuff. And then everyone's been raving. I'm not really on TikTok, but some of my friends who are say they're just inundated with Ninja Creami videos, I guess.
What are you talking about?
People love this thing. They make
what are you talking about?
Cream.
An ice cream?
It's
People
an ice
love
cream.
An ice cream.
An ice cream maker.
Yeah.
So it's a machine that makes ice cream.
Yes.
Right? And you put your stuff in
there. How many videos can you watch on ice cream?
Oh, mate, there's so many.
Why?
They make biscuit. I haven't really seen them, but someone's shown me them. I've seen bits and pieces. People do all kinds of shit on TikTok. You know, they piece together little 1 minute or 30-second videos of them just making an ice cream. And they froth out on it. Because you sort of put some ingredients in, it spins it up.
You seem like the perfect target market for this because you're a bit of a food guy. I'm not a food guy. FoodTok does not interest me in the slightest.
Doesn't it?
Like pictures of food? Like I can't get excited about actual food.
Man,
Do you want me to get excited about a picture of a food?
Yeah, food porn is a real thing.
Yeah, but it's tough for me to get pumped about any food. So now I'm meant to get excited about something where you can't even have the main quality of the food, which is the taste and byproduct, the nourishment. You get neither of those things. It's a picture. I'm trying to think about like what thing I could compare it to that I look at that's like, well, what's the point in doing that? That's silly. I'm trying to think. It's probably everything I do.
Food's not your jam. Food's not your jam at all, is it?
So I'm not susceptible to fall down those rabbit holes on the YouTube or whatnot that relate to food.
Oh, I definitely
Unless it's like like the dude that does the hot wings stuff. I'm into that.
Yeah, but that's an interview. That's not really about the wings. Yeah, that's an interview with wings on the side.
But I like hot food.
See, it's a bit like Iron Chef. I descended into that hardcore.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop watching it. I actually could not stop watching it.
Yeah,
I watched about 3 seasons in.
I'll watch Hell's Kitchen in a weekend. I'm talking 7 seasons of Gordon Ramsay yelling at people in the kitchen. Now, the important thing is there. It's not really. They're just cooking scallops every week, like they do every week. It's the weirdest fucking show. It's like, so you want to be the best chef in the world, huh? And run one of my restaurants. Cook scallops well. That's literally all you have to do.
Yeah, they always overcook them.
Yeah. Well,
what I love is on these cooking shows when they come in and they do something they've never done before. They'll say, they chat in between. They're sort of doing an interview and they have cuts of them interview. When they say, they go, oh, I've never actually, had never done this before. I'm making a beef Wellington. And you're just like, what are you doing?
Right. You're saying that you claim to be into cooking and you've never done a beef Wellington. That's why.
No, it's more like you're getting judged on something and you've never done it before. I always know it's a recipe for disaster.
But humans, I wanted to make this point, humans are pretty good at stepping up to the occasion. And I'll use the example of the beef Wellington lady or man, or I'll use someone like Goggins, who had never run long distances before and then decided, I'll just run across America. Is that what he did? Anyway, the point is that people do weird shit for the first time. Sometimes it goes all right.
Sometimes. And maybe if you're a really good chef, you can cook anything.
Maybe you could have the confidence to cook.
Yeah, maybe like, no, I understand
yes.
Pastry and I understand beef. I know what beef does. I know what pastry does. And I've seen, it's got mushrooms in it. And maybe you're like, I understand all these things. I'm just going to slap them together. I've seen enough.
There's a
maybe
bit of theory.
Just figure it out.
There's a bit of theory. There's a bit of practice, isn't there?
It's probably just confidence. I think cooking's probably just confidence at the end of the day.
Is it? Just moving around with confidence?
Yeah, you just got to just go for it.
Zips.
Zips. It's like Peep Show. That's what Mark says. He goes, cooking's just confidence. He's panicking.
Yeah, but that for context, that he was actually panicking hard because he had no ingredients and extra people were coming for dinner. So he was just slapping lettuce and shit together, calling it exotic
Moroccan
food. Yeah, Moroccan.
And baked beans on some lettuce. He was like, you just put it together. It's confidence. Cooking's just confidence. That is a really good episode. That's the one where he gets with a permanent marker.
I love you.
I love you.
Which is an Indiana Jones gag.
Is it?
Yeah. So because
how did I know
the idea is that she's a nerd and she'll get that. Which
Indiana Jones movie?
So it's in the first one that was released, which is called Raiders of the Lost Ark. And it's really early in the movie because it's one of the girls in Indiana Jones's class. So he's giving a class on ancient stuff. Hey, I'm Indiana Jones and this is ancient stuff. Although he probably says, I'm not an adventurer. If you've read anything like that, disregard, because I think he was doing it on the sly. I don't know if it was well known that he was like a bit of a grave robber on the side. But he was doing his lecture and one of the girls in the front row sort of like blinks long for a long time at him. And it says, correct. I love you. Yeah.
Right. I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark based on your recommendation a few years ago with the wife, and it was really good.
Isn't it?
It was really good.
When you're watching all the stunts and stuff, you just think, this looks dangerous. I like this. That's what I feel when I watch Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and the melt. This is the Lost Arks with the end, all the energies are released.
Melt faces. Bit of wax dummy stuff. Bit of exploding head stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All good stuff.
You got the iconic scene where the dude's got the sword and he's swishing it around and getting pretty excited, and Indiana Jones just pulls out his gun and shoots him. That's fun.
Yes, classic. And that's not the Short Round. Is that his name? Short Round?
No, the Short Round is the Temple of Doom, which is the second movie, which is actually a prequel set before the events of Last Crusade, set before the events of Raiders.
Oh man, you are an Indiana Jones expert.
There's only 3 movies as far as I'm concerned, and it's not that hard to keep track of them. Have you seen number 5? There's a 5th one.
No, I never went to see it. So this was relatively recent when Harrison Ford was about a year 80. Ago.
Yeah.
And he survives a nuclear bomb in his bathtub.
That was number 4.
Oh, I haven't seen that either.
Number 4, no, it wasn't in his bathtub. He gets into a lead fridge because he just happens to be at a nuclear test range when they're testing a nuke. And so he like walks into someone's house and they're all just dummies with like radiation symbols on them. And he's like, shit, get into the fridge, gets in, like clears all the fake food out of the fridge, gets in the fridge and gets blown out of town in the fridge. Does a couple of barrel rolls, surely. And then, I'm Indiana Jones. I've still got my hat. Let's fucking go.
So I'm an expert on Indiana Jones. That seems a bit far-fetched though, doesn't it?
It does. It really did jump the shark a bit. But that was the same movie where you've got Shia LaBeouf head fighting a guy with a sword in between 2 cars that are running through the Amazon or some shit. They're flying through, these 2 Jeeps are flying through the Amazon, and he's got one foot on his car, swinging a sword at the other guy on another car who's also fencing him cross car. It looked like shit.
In the Amazon, yeah. So that's not one of the ones you consider worthy of watching. 4 and 5 you're not worrying about.
Look, they're not my cup of tea. I'm sure someone really likes those movies. This is what I always give it credit for. It's paying homage to the time periods in which it was set. That's what it's always done. So the 1945 stuff, all of the Hitler stuff, all of the fighting the Nazi stuff.
All good stuff.
No, but it's all military serial stuff. It's all the comics that were of the time. They were all military comics about buff dudes going over and winning the day for America or Britain or whatever, right? That was the media of the time. Right. So when they went, okay, so what do we do? Yeah, of course it is. But when you get to the late 60s, you're dealing with this other thing now. That's not the climate anymore. The climate is flower power, man on the moon, aliens, which is why they went down that road of going, let's go the alien path, which I respect them for because they're keeping true to what they're actually doing, which is representing the time at which it's set.
So what were the aliens in Indiana Jones?
So Indiana Jones 4 is called Indiana Jones 4 Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And it's basically about these fucking alien head skulls thing that they find. And the idea is you get them all together and shit goes down. Namely, fucking alien spaceship takes off.
Are these crystal skulls full of vodka? Like the
I think he got crystal it from skull. Them.
Yeah,
I think Dan Aykroyd took it from them.
Yes,
or I'm not sure. I'm not sure
Have
where it originated.
Have you heard how preposterous that vodka is that's in those crystal skulls? Because he went on Joe Rogan and did a 15-minute spiel about how good the vodka is and how they run it through crystals.
Yeah.
And the crystals absorb some of the dirt or the color or something.
Yeah,
he says that the crystals become discolored over time and they remove them and replace them with new crystals and the vodka streams over the crystals.
All right, maybe you can explain this to me because I'm not a geologist, okay? I know what diamonds are.
Carbon.
I know what gold is.
Yes.
I know what quartz is.
Do you?
What's the combination? Well, it's a rock.
Silicon. I don't know. I think it's like a silicon oxide. I think it's
the point is. Yeah, okay. What the hell is a crystal? Is it made out of the crystal? Is crystal a actual?
It's a generic term. I think it can be a lot of things.
Term?
Yeah,
is it?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Because like amethyst crystal is a type of crystal. Then you could have other crystals.
Oh God. See, I don't know anything about crystals.
I don't know anything about crystals. I avoid crystals because
crystals
people
to me
love, some people
sound a bit hokey because you've got diamonds, which are like things, and you can use them to cut stuff. Like it's actually.
I think crystal is a reference to the crystalline lattice that is formed by certain molecules. So certain things will form a crystalline lattice, and that's a crystal. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
But crystal can be a generic term for a bunch of shit.
I think so. But you said you're a geologist, right?
Not a geologist.
No, you are a geologist. I need a geologist. That's great. Because something didn't make any sense to me. So I was at my brother's wedding. That's one of the reasons I was away for a couple of weeks. And I was up in Broome. And I've always wanted to check out the dinosaur footprints because I know you've been to Broome as well.
Yes, I have.
Did you check out the dinosaur footprints at Ganthium Point?
No, but I did go and mess around with some dinosaurs.
Oh, the crocs.
Yeah,
the croc farm. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I think it's moved now, but you go down there and it's a bit of a deal and, I don't know, hold a baby one. It was pretty intense. You can walk around the external part of their enclosure and sometimes the crocodiles will lay eggs quite close to the fence line and they were pretty...
Make an omelette?
No, they were pretty ready to fuck shit up if they had to, you know. They're protecting their kin. Like it's not a great scenario when you're staring at a dinosaur.
Do they sit on there? Wouldn't they? How do they protect the eggs? You know how some animals sit on them, like chickens,
birds, turtles and shit. Yeah, turtles.
Do you reckon the crocodile sits?
Not the whole time.
Yeah, because I mean,
no. Wouldn't be the whole time.
You're a multi-ton animal, right?
Yeah, no. You got to do stuff. You're busy.
You'd have to be very.
Maybe it's a night thing. Maybe it's when they're cold. Maybe it's when the egg's cold, you warm it up because that'd be at night. So you need to snuggle up anyway, give a bit of egg warmth up. Look, the short answer is we don't know again.
Yeah. Wait, is a crocodile born from an egg? I don't. Did they have eggs there?
100%.
100%. Okay. I've never thought about how a crocodile's born. Now that I think about it. So is a crocodile? I thought only. What comes from eggs? Is it just birds?
Well, apparently not.
Yeah, crocodile. What else comes from an egg? Can you imagine if you were born out of an egg?
No, that'd be great. It's fine. That'd be better.
I think I would prefer to come out of an egg than a womb.
Me too.
All you have
that
to do
scene
is
in
bash your way out.
where it comes out and it's got the little arm and it's very cute and stuff, but it's a little velociraptor.
Yeah. Okay. Dinosaurs. Good. You got me back on track. So, Ganthian Point. I've heard that there's dinosaur footprints there, and it's always made no fucking sense to me because their dinosaurs were 65 million years ago. 65 million years ago, and they're telling me they expect me to believe that near the waterline, because you have to go there at the right time of day. So we're saying waves are crashing into this point. This is you're telling me that there are dinosaur footprints on the coast. Okay, this really doesn't sit well with me. It does sound
preposterous, doesn't it?
It does, right? And I said to my brother, I was like, man, okay, I didn't check that. Last time I went there, I wasn't there at the right time of day. I wasn't there at low tide. And I was like, Jeff, what's the go with these dinosaur footprints? Is this just tourism? Is this marketing? Like, what is this? And he just had a quick Google, and I've had a quick Google since. And they claim, as in Broome and Wikipedia and things like that, they say that these are recognized as the most significant dinosaur footprints in the world.
Whoa, that's a huge claim.
Big claim. And they seem to have scientific backing for this. I haven't verified it myself. Doesn't make it. This makes no sense to me.
Can I help a little bit?
Please,
I might have an idea.
I need help because I don't even know if anyone can actually bring me around to.
I'll try.
Yeah,
I've got an idea.
I want to believe.
I've got an idea. You might like it. So,
it reminds me of the moon.
Yeah,
I know we went to the moon, but I find it incredibly hard to believe. This is the same situation I'm having with the dinosaur footprints. I'm pretty confident they're real and they are dinosaur footprints, but I just can't get my head around how they're there. Sure.
Look, this might help, this might not. And I won't be able to alleviate all of your concerns with it because there are parts of my argument which I'll disagree with.
Yeah.
But first point I want to make is obviously when the dinosaurs were kicking about,
for discussion purposes, yes.
We didn't have the same sort of world makeup that we do today. Everything was pushed together. I think even that could have been a Pangea kind of time where it was one landmass.
Yeah, I don't know. It could have been. You're right.
Okay.
Could have been.
Number one. I'm
going to look up what the world looked like 65 million years ago.
Great.
But continue.
In the meantime, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other point that I would make is that if dinosaurs were kicking about in Australia 65 million years ago, which you and I would agree definitely was a thing, right?
Yeah.
So we know they're kicking around. So the coast is irrelevant. The coastline changes.
You're right.
The coastline changes over time a lot.
It's only coastline now.
So yeah, it's only coastline now. But I guess what I'm saying is there'd be footprints everywhere in the Earth's record.
Yeah.
Like millions.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're near the coast mainly is just really lucky that we managed to get them.
You're right. I'm looking at it through the lens of now rather than what could have been. So maybe they're only coincidentally around with the internet and we're looking at them and they're getting eroded by the coast, so they've got a limited timeline.
Yeah, true. Now, what's the deal with preservation of it? How does a footprint like that get preserved for 65 million years? I was thinking about it because of the landslide event in PNG. You got all this, like imagine if there was stuff in the archaeological record below something, landslide, everything gets buried underneath. That happens again over the centuries. I'm beginning to understand how everything's so fucking far underneath the ground in the historical record.
That's what I was saying to my brother. I said the only way I can believe that this is the case is that somehow these footprints were protected, like and covered in sedimentary layers, and maybe the land's now fractured and now they've been revealed, but now they're in a process of being eroded quickly because they're on the coast. So if this is the most, as they claim, recognized as the most significant collection of dinosaur footprints in the world. Actually, and just to correct me, dinosaurs were 65 million years ago, but these footprints were laid down 120 million years ago.
So 65 million years ago is the end of the dinosaurs, meaning that was the last date it could have been. It was actually double that.
It was actually double that, yeah. And there's 20 different types of tracks, potentially. Theropods, three-toed carnivorous dinosaurs that walked on two legs. Also, one thing that rubs me the wrong way is when you walk up to Ganthian Point, you have to go there at a super low tide. So even though I went there at low tide, it was about 3.5 meters. Most of the footprints are only visible when the tides are below 2.16. You actually have to go there on a mega low. What
does that mean? How are they protected?
Change.
How are they protected?
They're mainly underwater. They're generally underwater, which is probably a good thing, because if they were a little bit more, if they were where the tide goes up and down every day, say they're at 4 meters or 5 meters.
That's still unbelievable though, because it's copping that sway of the ocean.
But maybe if it's just low enough that it's not copping the sway, you know what I mean? Because I went there on a low tide. This is my problem. This is my problem.
Hundreds of changes in that time. Hundreds of changes.
Australia is not exactly a geologically active place. The whole coastline is formed by sand. That's why it's so flat. It's just it's old rock that's being eroded. We're an incredibly old geological, I don't know I'm not generalizing, but the coastline, for example, you've got the Darling Scarp. We don't have many hills around, we don't have very mountains. The Darling Scarp has been eroded, and there's this big, long, flat plain that we live on of sand that's just eroded off the Darling Scarp over, and just nearby, well, relatively nearby, the Bungle Bungles, which are the oldest, they're 250 to 350 million years old, and they're recognized as the oldest or one of the oldest rock formations in the world. And to give you some more perspective, for example, the Himalayas weren't around when the dinosaurs were around. The Himalayas are only about 20 million years old.
Wow, is that true?
I don't know if it's 20 million years old, but I know that they weren't around when the dinosaurs were around. So there's no footprints. Even if you start crumbling away and bashing away at Everest, I don't think you're going to get, unless the footprints were formed and then the rocks were smashed together, the crusts started forming the Himalayas. I guess there could be footprints somewhere hidden within them.
You would think that the most mountainous regions on Earth would be the most tectonically active, given that they are the ones creating the mountains.
Yes, you think there'll be more crumbling and things like that. But sorry, and I got sidetracked. So when you turn up at Ganthian Point and you get to and you sort of get out of your car and you walk down, there's some information about the footprints and stuff. The first thing you see is, and this is up nice and high, nowhere near the rocky point where all the rocks are disintegrating. There's a big rock with 3 big footprints on it, but you can tell it's just concrete. So people turn up and they don't clearly mark it saying it's got these big 3-toed footprints in it, but they're just got that there as a marker for you're
in the right spot.
Yeah, you're in the dinosaur. And so people, when they turn up, they see some footprints, but they don't clearly say. You can tell because you're like, it doesn't look like the same kind of rock, and you can just tell if you just have if you think about it, you're like, this is actually, you can see it's more concretey. It's more rough concrete that they've poured and they've got the footprints. Sure, it's not naturally occurring.
Sure.
But a lot of these footprints, you wouldn't even know that they are footprints, because some of them are 1.7 meters in diameter.
Wow.
And so they're just big holes in the ground, but they're recognized by scientists to be that of a...
You're really not convinced. I love how you dance with it though. You're like, so these guys, it's just a hole. It's just a hole at the beach. I don't get it.
How did you verify that? They say that in other areas.
It's the same way that they walk along. Yeah. It's the same way they walk along the Giza plateau and go, these were worker huts and this was a shed and whatnot. And you're like, you're basing that off a rock on the ground, which could have just blown there a second ago. There's nothing here. There's nothing here. I trust you. You're the expert.
Yeah.
You've done your research. You put the time in. Yeah. You know this stuff better than me. But fuck, to say, you wouldn't be able to say, it's clearly a house.
No. And one reason they say that they're workers rather than slaves that were living in those quarters were there was vessels that had residue of beer in it. So they're saying they're workers Because what slaves are just, sipping on beers.
Sipping beers. Is that I don't think that was the only evidence. It's
Not
just
the only.
only non-slaves sip beers. No, but like it's more like they found that they had possessions and things which they didn't know before. Basically.
Yes, and burial areas as well, where they have families of people. They have like almost a chute where they would do mini tombs for the family, for generations of families who would be buried in the same area, and they would all be ornately carved and things like that.
Because there's cemeteries around the Giza pyramid, isn't there? Are they workers' cemeteries? What are we dealing with? The town obviously existed to build it. There would have been a whole city there to build that thing.
I don't know. I know there's worker huts that are around the Giza pyramid that they've only recently discovered. Yeah. So when we were in high school or in school, the prevailing thought was they were built by slaves, but that was before we found the worker huts, before someone found the worker huts.
Yeah.
Apparently that whole slave thing's been pretty much agreed that they weren't slaves to build pyramids. But anyway, dinosaurs. I just want to go through the different types of dinosaurs because they say that in other dinosaur footprint-rich areas, you might get 3 types of tracks.
Okay.
This one has up to 20. And do you know any dinosaurs? I'm not really good with them.
Yeah. I know the Triceratops. I know the Tyrannosaurus Rex. I know the Brachiosaurus. I knew the Velociraptor, as I mentioned before. And I know the Diplodocus. And I am familiar with the ones that look like the lizard things that have little frill-neck lizard thing going.
Oh, with the armor and the spikes.
It does that. Yeah.
I was thinking the big ones that look like a big hippo but with a shield on their face.
Oh, wow.
The Triceratops. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
and
just
then you
got
Stegler something or other, and it's got
Stegosaurus
on
Stegosaurus
across its spine. Man, dinosaurs are wild. So there's the ones that they've found, theropods. I don't know what any of these are. Yeah. Sauropods. They're apparently the largest land animals ever discovered. These are the ones that made the prints that are up to 1.7 meters in diameter. So they're up to, they reckon that are about 80 ton and 35 meters in length. So I think they may have been the ones.
It's the big boy.
Yeah, when there's the.
That's the Brachiosaurus, right? Or a Diplodocus?
Yes. Well, I think the Brachiosaurus is a member of the sauropod family, actually. I do. I learnt that from my Broome readings.
Ah, excellent.
Then they also had ornithopods, theraphians, similar to a stegosaurus, apparently.
Wow.
Then they had stegosaurus, a wintonopus. What's a wintonopus? Okay, let me get that up. And they had a Megalosauropus brumensis. I think brumensis.
I don't know the Brumenthus series, but I was familiar with the sort of wider family of Brunothosauruses or whatever. Yeah. They're just making them up, aren't they?
Oh, at this point.
I just read on a Wikipedia page, though, that at very low tide, there are dinosaur footprints 30 meters out to sea.
Yeah, apparently they're all over that whole coastline. So a lot of people go scuba diving or snorkeling for them.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to experience it, right? It looks lovely. Like I just saw a video from the Point where you're looking out to the ocean. Lovely.
Yeah, actually, you know what? It's probably best to go there at high tide. Oh, that's probably too high. That's probably too high, actually, because, I mean, the tides go from like 2 to 10 meters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've been to like 80 Mile Beach and stuff, and you can like walk hundreds of meters out into the ocean there. It's a massive sandbar.
Yeah, so Broome experiences a 10-meter range of tide at certain times of the year. So if you go there, 10 meters down is a long way.
Yeah, that's the king tides.
Yes.
Just clone them already. We've got the footprints. Just do the rest. Just build them. Are you ready for dinosaurs again? You want to see a dinosaur? Do you want Jurassic Park in real life?
I'm ready.
Would you like that?
I mean, certain dinosaurs, the plant-eating dinosaurs, bring them back.
Okay, why is that?
I'm not in any danger. I mean, a T-Rex, you don't want a T-Rex roaming around, do you?
It would make things pretty exciting. If there's just one somewhere in the world and you don't know where it is.
That's like a Godzilla moment, isn't it?
Yeah, but it'd be dead on the first day.
Is Godzilla just a T-Rex?
If a T-Rex rolled in, maybe in Australia he'd get, a few days, In Australia he might live for a few days, but in the US or something, he'd be dead on the first day.
Okay, wait, T-Rexes they're only 13 meters high.
That's what I mean, dude. It'd be dead on the first day.
I mean, how big was Godzilla?
Godzilla's massive, depending on the Godzilla movie.
So the
more recent ones, he's very big.
Oh, he's 108 meters tall.
Oh, yeah, he's very big. But he's fictional, whereas these things actually were running around. Is there anything bigger? Because when I was growing up, there was nothing bigger than a T-Rex. If you were talking about big dinosaurs who were angry, T-Rex was number one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So who is the actual apex predator of the dinosaurs?
It might still be a T-Rex.
You reckon?
Rex. Okay, who's Rex? Okay, newfound T-Rex relative was even a bigger apex predator. I think his name's just Rex, though.
Oh, yeah, that's probably just the name of the skeleton.
Oh, okay.
Most of the dinosaurs are built from other bones. So,
what do you mean?
Well, like if they find a bunch of like brachiosauri, right? But they're like, this one's missing a couple of bones. Just grab this one from this one and put it in this one. Spare parts. A couple of spare parts.
Okay,
very rarely is it complete skeletons.
This is from January 2024. It's a newfound sister species, and they call it Tyrannosaurus macraensis. McRaensis. It's like a McDonald's advert. Macraensis.
Wow.
Okay, and it is... Give me a size on this bad boy.
Well, it doesn't have to be bigger than a T-Rex. If it's the apex predator, it could actually be smaller.
Well, it's 3 to 5 million years older than a T-Rex.
Right.
That's apparently why it's... Yeah, all these different dinosaurs. This is what we forget. All the dinosaurs didn't exist at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I just lump all the dinosaurs together like, there was Stegosaurus.
Hundreds of millions of years.
Yeah, we're dealing with... I mean, if those footprints were created 120 million years ago and Chicxulub, whatever it's called, the asteroid, Chicxulub was 65 million years ago. What do we got there? 55 million years of development.
Mm.
Oh, so they won't even give... Oh, there's no size. This is misleading.
So this is just an interesting little factoid. This is the largest, hang on. It's the largest T-Rex ever discovered in the world. It's nicknamed Scotty, and it's 68 million years old, and they had to remove it from rocks over 20 years.
Scotty.
To get out the bones.
Jeez,
it took them 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the preparation was complete in 2011, a 65% complete T-Rex skeleton was revealed. So
it took them 20 years.
20 years to get 65% of the bad boy out of there. But if you have a look at it, it looks like a complete skeleton to me, which means they probably either 3D print parts for the bits they don't have so they can show off a full skelly.
Yeah.
Or it shows off the missing bones, as in here's a bone we're missing, here's a bone we're missing. It's pretty amazing though. It is cool looking.
20 years though, you have to be like pretty keen on digging things up. You know you do the chip away egg or whatever it is.
I smashed that. Yeah, my big brother reminded me that we just smashed that in a day. We just actually hacked away at it just for an hour. And
Imagine doing that for 20 years.
But I think he may have not done that, but I was bashing it out. There was no care taken with it. It wasn't chip away dinosaur. It was mallet away rock.
Yeah.
But it was good fun while it lasted.
Hey, so that's another... You know, we went through WA and we compared the WA wonders to the world wonders?
Right.
And I reckon WA was, we have to include the world's, what did I say? What did I say?
It's the best flock of dinosaur footprints ever.
Recognised as the most significant collection of dinosaur footprints in the world. I mean, you got to put in
where's the recognition?
Most in the world, yeah. And then I've got another thing, actually. It's actually in a very similar vein to dinosaur footprints. On the way up, we went to Karratha, and just nearby Karratha, they have the Burrup Peninsula. And it's I knew that there was some rock art there, but then someone sent me an article just before I went up there and GPS coordinates to enable you to get to some of the rock art. But it is regarded as the world's largest recorded assemblage of ancient indigenous petroglyphs, which is Aboriginal rock engravings. And they range from 10,000 to 50,000 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So, I mean, add that into WA's wonders. I mean, it has over 1 million petroglyphs have been catalogued there. And there's GPS coordinates, and you can head out on these really rickety, shitty trails. I mean,
it's fantastic.
The wife was not comfortable because it was really hot and the trail wasn't very good, and there's a lot of rock hopping and potential for snakes. So I just had to, doesn't sound good. It was a short trip. I just had to leave her at one point and keep going because I was close. And she was like, just leave me here. Just collect me on the way back. I was only about 50 meters or 100 meters from the GPS coordinates, and I did find it. It's apparently Burrup's most iconic and most mysterious petroglyph. So look this one up. I took a photo of it, but you may as well just get it up. It's called the Climbing Men Panel. But it's so cool because you just in Burrup. That might help.
Okay, I've got it.
And so obviously we don't know what any of these engravings mean. So it's just like a matter of interpretation that they're climbing men. So I was going to ask you what your expert opinion is, because...
Well, the funny thing is like when I first saw this, I immediately wanted to see other examples of things in the area, because I think if you just look at one thing, I don't think you're going to get much of the story. However, this is quite separate from the rest, isn't it? Like, as in, you had to travel a distance to see this particular petroglyph?
In this one valley, very close by, there's 5 significant carvings, 5 significant drawings like this.
Incredible.
So there's this, look, honestly, once I got to that one, because I'd left the wife a little bit back in the middle of nowhere, I was feeling pretty bad about it. And it was really hot, and it was very difficult to find this. Well, not very difficult to find, but I would have had to have typed in some more GPS coordinates and gone down the valley a little bit. They're all close by. I could have just walked around and seen if I could see anything, but it helps a lot when you just can plug it into Google.
That's fantastic.
So they had...
It's fascinating, though. This image there's a lot going on in here, man.
There is a lot. I don't know what. I took a pretty sick photo of it. I'm just looking at one that I've got from the article that my friend sent me. But there is a lot going on.
Why are these considered enigmatic, though? Are the rest of them pretty self-explanatory? Like, you're essentially trying to read hieroglyphs, and I just don't know why this one's classed as the most enigmatic.
Well, some of on the opposite, so these are the other ones around. This is just what they're called. This is the interpretation. So there's a serpent with several skinny figures. Mm-hmm. Then just 10 meters away from that, there is another rendition of climbing men. Further 25 meters away has something that vaguely looks like a conga dance line.
Okay.
Another 40 meters away is a group of 6 family members, 3 of them with enlarged hands, plus a large serpent overhead. That one's pretty cool.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to look up more of these, but I've got a few up here. They're really good.
So this is just one site on the Burrup Peninsula, which is what's crazy is right next to this is a massive Woodside gas plant.
Yeah, of course,
massive. So even the directions that this article gave me to get to the part of the road where you sort of descend into this shitty track, you couldn't even go the same way anymore because half of it's a car park.
That's crazy.
And there's a big sign up saying that you're entering a Aboriginal heritage area. That's about it. And there's a whole bunch. So there were 6 different sites they could send you to, all with really cool rock art.
Fantastic.
Of and
it's some of the oldest shit in the world, right?
Figures. Yeah, some of the oldest stuff in the world.
Incredible.
They've even got Tasmanian
the Climbing Man
tigers.
one, I'm starting to think it's a river. I'm starting to think if they're not climbing, I think it's depicting some sort of river.
That would make some sense. I mean, they were a fan of rivers, weren't they?
You've got to be a fan of a river if you want to live. It's one of the rules. It's amazing how we all knew the rules, or is it just that there's evidence of civilizations left at the rivers because they were the ones that survived and everyone else didn't? It's tough. Don't know. But rivers are important.
And again, what you got to remember, which I forgot about with the dinosaur footprints, is this was far more remote because this is right near. The Burrup Peninsula isn't that wide. I'm going to guess it's about 4 kilometers wide and maybe 20 kilometers long, something like that. But when these were made, well, they were made between 10 and 50,000 years ago. The water level was far less, and particularly Western Australia extended right out for hundreds of kilometres. So, I mean, these were far more Central Australia than they are now. And all the stuff that we would have lost. Imagine how much we've lost.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean, it's just luck that this is such an area with such a high number of rock. For some reason,
I call it.
Just is what it is, isn't it?
Just wild to think what is definitely gone.
The treasures that have been lost.
How many cities are built on old empires? Like all of them. So yeah, we lose everything all the time.
Have you heard about this structure that is off Japan? It's pretty interesting. Let me just get the name of it. There's something that was found by divers off Japan. I've got to get the name of it. Sorry. What's it called? It's some divers. I know Graham Hancock has explored it a number of times.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about the sort of temple sort of looking thing. The sharp-edged rocks.
It's Japan's underwater ancient pyramid. It remains one of the world's great mysteries. This is just this article. Yonaguni Monument.
Yeah, it's a fun one because people love Atlantean stuff, and we know that stuff is under the ocean and stuff that even was semi-recent, like stuff from Greek times, is completely submerged in water and preserved there and whatnot.
Yeah, but this would have been underwater 10,000 years plus ago, and it looks vaguely like stairs and structure. Some people say there's a spiral staircase. I've searched for photos of that.
I've seen the steps. I've seen the few steps.
Yeah, I've seen those big steps on the outside, and they've kind of mapped it. And look, it's interesting, but I think some people say that it is possible for the rocks to shear and form in this way that looks like a structure.
I mean, come on.
Yeah,
that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, but I feel like I need something more than just like it has to be
hollowed out. You need other evidence of that occurring
like
naturally.
Yeah, this structure has to be hollowed out. Like they need to be walls.
Uh-huh.
If that's just all solid and you're like, oh yeah, it's stairs on the outside, I'd be like, yeah, but why were they just making stairs on the outside?
Yeah, but if you're talking about somewhere that was underwater 10,000 years ago, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
We can deal with that on the current understanding of human civs. We can deal with that.
We can now, can't we?
Well, we've always been able to. Well, we've been able to deal with that for a little while.
Well,
here's one for you. How much do you know about the Antikythera mechanism?
No, is that the thing they found under, like, in a shipwreck or something, and it's quite advanced? Yeah, I don't know much about it. What is it exactly? Or that's part of the mystery, isn't it?
Okay, so not really. They know what's going on in there. So, but they only found out recently, and when I say recently, I mean in the last 35-ish years, were they able to look inside this thing. Anyway, I'll give you a brief understanding. It's an ancient Greek hand-powered model of the solar system.
Oh, okay.
Described as the oldest example of an analog computer. So the idea is that you would wind one little windy thing, and the gears would move, and it had internal gears. It's a bit of a feat of engineering for the time. I'll tell you about the date in a minute. We're talking 2nd century BC, discovered in 1901 in Greece. Right. So found at this shipwreck.
Okay.
So fascinatingly enough, the fact that it was a ship in the shipwreck actually preserved it more than if it was on the Earth. Oh, okay. So we still have it today because it was lost and wrecked. Weird, but that's how it goes. Anyway, the mechanism.
What's it made out of? Did you say? What's the? Is it metal? It must be.
I'm
metal,
not sure.
Right? If you're winding a mechanism, it must be bronze or something.
Sure. I mean, not necessarily.
I don't know why I'm asking you these technical questions about the composition. And what did you say it's called? One more time.
The Antikythera mechanism, and that's just named after the place where it was found, which is the Greek island of Antikythera. Oh, okay. Indiana Jones will tell you that it's a time machine, but I'm going to tell you the truth. The gears on the inside are made in such a way that if you rotate one little lever, it will give you it'll give you the Earth's rotation around the sun. So imagine a model of the solar system in your hand. And you got the sun in the middle and the Earth's going around, right? At the same time that the Earth's going around, a moon is going around that Earth because of the gears. Now, the fact that the moon's orbit around Earth is elliptical, it's not perfectly circular, means that there's a mechanism, there's a component in the gear the moon gear that makes it get faster and slower depending on where it is. It simulates a 4-year cycle. Yeah. So it simulates a 4-year cycle of the entire solar system. It does Jupiter. It's got Neptune. It's got Mars. Mercury.
Does any of this predate I don't know the timeline of our understanding of the solar system.
100%. Because if we were making mechanisms like this, they're all gone because this one was only found by luck because it was a shipwreck. Now, it's from the 2nd century BC. Yeah. Okay? And it's hard to wrap your head around a 2nd century BC computer. A lot of people were skeptical because it was only, like I said, until the last maybe 35 to 40 years that they actually had a internal view of the Antikythera mechanisms, meaning they saw the gears inside the other ones and was like, holy shit, this is doing this, and they can remodel it, essentially remake it, backwards engineer it.
Right.
It's really interesting.
Okay, so meanwhile, Jesus was riding into Bethlehem on a donkey.
Not even.
Right? Yeah, not even. But I mean, the same, similar, right?
Kicking around.
Same kind of time period, right? I'm just trying to think what people were doing.
The pharaohs are in Egypt. They're chilling out. They're still chilling out. The pharaohs were chilling out, right? In 2nd century BC?
Yeah, we're talking,
2nd century
Anthony
BC?
and Cleopatra. Yeah.
Yeah, no, sort of the end, I guess.
I'm just trying to think what the tech was back then. I'm just trying to get an understanding. I don't think it was much because, I mean, we're crucifying people.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can get that. It'd be interesting to see what they were running with at the time.
Because it's hard, isn't it? That seems like really advanced. It seems super advanced.
It does a bit. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit.
Yeah.
Ancient Greek technology developed during the 5th century BC, right? Pretty big period. Inventions that are credited to the ancient Greeks include the gear, screw, rotary mills, bronze casting techniques, the water clock, water organ, and the torsion catapult. The use of steam to operate some experimental machines and toys, and a chart to find prime numbers. Ooh, the chart to find prime numbers. Sounds like the worst movie ever. They have, however, peaceful uses are shown by the early development of the watermill, a device which pointed to further exploitation on a large scale under the Romans. So they kind of are credited for doing stuff that ended up benefiting heaps of other people. Bro. Yeah, we're not talking a lot here.
Yeah, and I do. How can you actually explain that away? I hear it's quite an interesting artifact for anyone that's trying to push back, technology to ancient times. Because theoretically, this could have been created a lot longer, far more remote times, and had just been kept as like this amazing artifact that had then been lost around 2 BC. But who knows? Who knows when it could have been created? Well, it says in Wikipedia, it was created the 2nd century BC. I don't know how they know when it was created.
Well, they say 100 to 70 BC was when we discovered differential gears, which is what that thing does. But looking at this, the humans were rocking cranes in 500 BC. Cranes are a bit of engineering, aren't they? So, gears, I mean, is that so hard to believe?
So did it actually have all the planets? Because I'm just seeing
No, I don't think it does. I think it was just the Earth and the Moon.
Okay.
Phases of the Moon. You could get the phases of the Moon out of it.
Okay. I mean,
over a 4-year period.
That's still very impressive. Okay. I see. All right. I was just checking. So Saturn was founded in 1610 by old mate Galilei.
But the all the Greek and Roman gods are named after the planets. Neptune, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus.
I think they're all
Mars.
Roman. I think the planets are all Roman gods, and the moons are all Greek gods, I think.
And all the deadly asteroids are Egyptian gods.
I don't know. Well, at least
the one that's coming to kill us.
At least Apophis, yeah.
Okay,
Binu, actually, you're right. Binu's
an
Egyptian one as well. I don't know where they get these names from.
Apophis.
The Apollo and Artemis missions, obviously they're Greek gods. They're
Can we have a separation of church and state at some point in history? Yeah, Can we have a separation of church and state at some point in human history?
The nomenclature should just be spaceship mission B5271.
Yeah, it should be more boring.
Yeah, more scientific.
Press go. Stop messing around with the names. Stop thinking about the names and the uniforms. Just press go. Are you with me? I know you want to see some progress on this, but they're all just naming stuff and designing. We have a bottleneck with the uniforms. Can't get them in time. Oh, well, I guess the launch is off. What are we talking about?
So the Yonaguni monument, just to close out on this, I found what I was thinking about. So a pyramid-like structure, not in my opinion, discovered by Kirichiro Aratake, who's a local diver in 1987. It's 9-meter tall monument, 5 meters below the surface, and it's located near Yonaguni Island. They say it could be the ruins of what was once a civilization dating back as far as 10,000 years. And it has this spiral staircase that the diver is convinced is man-made that I still haven't seen photos of.
Right. Wouldn't Hancock and his wife have taken photos of the spiral staircase? They were there.
Yeah, they love it. They love it. Apparently, I've heard him talk about it quite passionately. Yeah. He says it's a power. The diver said that he started crying when he saw it. He just thought it was amazing.
Underwater? Can you cry underwater?
In your goggles.
Oh, have you ever cried in your goggles?
He was overwhelmed. I haven't. Actually, Robert Schoch, he's explored the site himself. So he's controversial because of his dating.
I'd be into what he thinks about it, though.
Yeah, okay. He says it's basic geology and classic stratigraphy for sandstone, which tend to break along plains and give you these very straight edges, particularly in an area with lots of faults and tectonic activity. He believes that is most likely natural.
It's natural forming. Yeah. So Schoch's shutting down this guy. And it's interesting that he's got this one side of Hancock's work that he's like, yep, 100%. You're 100% right about the pyramids. This is bullshit. And then on the other side, it's like Graham's like, hey, I found something under the water in Japan. He's like, nah, that one's bullshit, bro.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like that. If
that's what a scientist is meant to do.
Yeah. And actually gives his opinion on the Sphinx enclosure far more weight for me, because he's shooting down this other one that actually plays in quite nicely to the idea that civilization is a lot older than what
he's not using it as another chance to sort of further that cause. And why would you? Because other real geologists like Robert Schoch are just going to go, nah, man, that's a sandstone wall thing at the ocean, blah blah. It's that's bullshit. So, you know, what you say is important, and you know, your reputation and stuff, and you know, yeah. Can't all be nut stuff.
Hey, have you seen the Barbie movie?
No, I haven't.
I saw it when I was away. It's actually not bad.
Yeah, I haven't heard someone say like it was a shit movie.
It's way better than I thought it was going to be. Well, I didn't think it was going to be bad. I had no expectations.
Come on,
at all.
You thought it was going to be bad.
No, I think I was automatically set up because it's a Barbie movie, right?
Yeah,
Barbie.
Yeah.
And this style.
How did they do this? How did they do this? How did the film company do this?
In what way?
Well, if you look up Barbie movies, you're going to find a Wikipedia page with about 700 entries, okay?
Yeah.
Because it was Barbie goes to this and Barbie goes to that, and there's 100 kids shows and blah, blah, blah. There's seasons of this and rah, rah, rah. But this one obviously was out to get the world's attention, out to get every person in the world to get on board. And I didn't really, because Oppenheimer came out at the same time. It seemed like a pretty clear choice at the time. I'm going to go see Oppenheimer. That's an easy one. But it was definitely a world event when they're going, hey, everyone, Barbie's cool again. Like, how did they get people who are adults now in the workforce? Yeah. People who have kids, people who are in their 50s. How did they get people like that excited about a fucking Barbie movie, man? I'll give you an example. If there was a trailer that drops tomorrow for an Action Man movie, okay?
Yeah.
Because I had an Action Man toy when I was a kid, right? I ain't going to see that fucking movie. It sounds trash.
Yeah, it's called
Doesn't
marketing.
matter how good they do it.
Yeah. They just slammed the marketing, and they get Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. Yet those two, you know,
they can't miss at the moment.
Eye candies. Yeah, you get them up there, and it's something for everyone. And they just seem to, I don't know, and they just market the shit out of it.
No, but it was a good movie, well written.
I really enjoyed it.
Right? So it has to be a good movie at the end of the day. You can't go, oi, world, we're releasing a movie, and then it be really shit, because then you got the whole world watching your shit movie.
Yeah, no, it was good. I thought it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. And I think expectations are important. I came into Oppenheimer with huge expectations, and I was surprised that it won so many awards, to be honest. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was a little bit verbose. I thought it could have been they could have employed a bit more brevity at times. That's how I felt about it. It was long and quite wordy, and I liked it. But again,
it was equal parts narrative and equal parts documentary for me. Like there was pockets of his personal life where I'm like, yeah, I need exposure to this because it helps understand his whole story and helps understand the conflicts that he had and were involved in. And at the same time, I'm just getting this history lesson plus a science lesson at the same time. And by the end of it, I don't understand how any of that shit works, but you know, you can understand how it affected him and the devastation and stuff. It's pretty brutal.
What really piqued my interest when the Barbie movie started, they did it well. They started with this really weird opening scene that was like 2001 Space Odyssey, where they have the monkeys dancing around the obelisk and learning to use the club or
tools.
The stick, tools and evolving. Essentially, it was sort of alluding to the fact that one monkey figured out
competition as well. Like the birth of, now that we have the weapon and they don't have the weapon.
Yes. I was going to say the competition was always there, but now once one side learns how to use the weapon. So what it was young girls with little dolls in their hands rather than monkeys with sticks. Sounds really crude when you explain it in words, but it was done really well. And there's these scenes, there's slow motion shots of it smashing the doll, and they're dancing around a giant Margot Robbie Barbie monolith. And with the same music and things.
Hectic.
And then it was with the music going, and it actually really engaged me. And I thought, although 2001 Space Odyssey is for everyone and both genders, I think it was quite a good way of getting guys.
It's the hook.
It's the hook. I looked at Christy and I was like, that was awesome. And she's like, oh yeah. I was like,
got you by the balls.
Yeah.
Bro.
I was like, they did 2001 Space Odyssey.
Yeah, but now we're gonna dump 2 hours straight of just lady stuff straight at your face.
I was ready for it.
I was ready reference to like sport or anything or nothing fun. It's just it's definitely from what I've heard from it, it's a good job at reversing some gender roles and getting that. It's good. It's good. It's definitely a good thing to happen. Especially, and they did a good job of it. And I guess the movie's got heart? ? Movie's got a bit of heart. Has the movie got heart?
Yeah, I felt a bit sad at times because
what I mean by heart is like, is it a good message?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay, well then I'm all on board.
Some
like,
adversity,
as long as the message is good.
I was crushed when in Barbie Land. It's run by women essentially. It's a, what do you call it?
It's a female dominated. It's a matriarchy.
And she's just having, and this is artificial, of course, but it's bizarre. And she's having such a great time, and everything's so good. And then Ken and Barbie go to the real world briefly, and Ken realizes that it's run by men. And he's like, whoa, this is awesome. And he gets back to Barbie Land before Barbie gets back. And he starts implementing a lot of the male dominant things that he's taken back from the mainland. And it just ruins Barbie's dreamland. And it's really sad when you come back and you're like, oh no, she was having such a good time and everything was working so efficiently. But again, at the same time, it's artificial to say that that's how it would be if there was the equivalent of a matriarch. But it does make you think. And then it's this process of Barbie kind of dealing with this and sort of reining it in.
Right. You know, imagining the shoes on the other foot is something I try to practice quite a bit.
All the time. I do that all the time.
But
constantly.
People shouldn't need a movie to be like, hey, imagine the shoes on the other foot. And you're like, yeah, that is a good point.
I mean, that's just like one of the high level takeaways, and the way they do it. The way it's really, it's funny and it's pretty good. I'm
sure it had a better message than some other, like Jumanji. Like, what's the message of Jumanji? I don't know.
Don't play board games.
Yeah, don't play board games. Be careful when you're summoning creatures of any kind.
Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty sure there are morals to Jumanji because he has all this stuff with his dad, who he just wanted his approval and love, and he gave him like Schneider.
That's a classic, isn't it?
It's the 90s. Classic. It's the classic 90s story, isn't it?
Yeah, I even had to write a book in year 8. You
had to write a book,
English
a fictional
or something, and illustrate it. Yeah, for it was like a project for year 8 English, and I wrote some book about some kid that had to do something, and it was the same theme of doing it for his sort of not father's approval, but it was almost like a revenge type. I don't know. It was the same thing. And then I read back and I was like, this is so gay. This is so embarrassing. Like, I mean it was just
mean it in the context. You mean that in the context
when I was in year 8.
High school.
When I was in year 8. Yeah. I'm really, drawing on that time.
Yeah. You just thought it was lame.
It was just really lame. It was sad. And actually at the end I had notes about the author and I said,
that's you.
Yeah, Nate. And, I said I wanted to be an airline pilot.
Is that what you said there?
Yeah. I don't know what happened. Yeah, I just must have forgotten about it.
Yeah. I found one of mine. Yeah. Well, I found mine from I found the book. I've never read this one before because I always, when you look back through the memories of those kinds of box memories where you go, okay, what's in the box of memories? there's certain things that just get skipped over. Like certain things I'm like, oh, there's quality in here. I'm going to read this and I've read it out on the show before. I read out some hot takes from my brother's year when they were talking about nuclear proliferation.
Oh, yeah, French
and they
nuclear
were giving
testing.
it to the French president.
Yeah.
And it was fun to read. And it's these 9-year-olds or 8-year-olds or whatever who have this a hot take on anything. It could be any topic. What do you want to be when you grow up? All that sort of stuff. The earliest recorded memory of what I want to be when I grow up is from this pre-primary book. It's the one that you get where it's got your photo at the front and then your handprint in paint on the next page and then your footprint on the next page. You know, it's that kind of book. And it said in there that I wanted to be a rock star.
Oh.
That was gone quick. That was gone quick. Because I was I can't remember.
Did you even play an instrument at the time?
Nah. Not at all.
You're just going to be like a Mick Jagger type.
Yeah. Just stand up the front, look pretty.
Yeah. Do some singing.
Nah, but I think in year 7 there was this in the yearbook for year 7, that's the final year of primary school. You have like a page at the back that's for the leavers, and it's everyone's picture. Yeah. So it's the class like everyone's individual picture, and maybe like I think it was like what they'll be in the future, like what the future holds for them.
And is that a peer-reviewed thing, or is that you write that yourself? I can't remember how it works. Did I write what I wanted to be?
Yeah, this is the thing. Because it said most likely to be, right? It was most likely to be.
Yeah, something. What did you have?
That was a mad scientist.
What was I? I wonder what I was.
But I wasn't at your school.
Oh, but do you reckon I had one?
Well, you'd have something similar in one of your yearbooks. Do you keep all that shit? Or is it gone?
Oh, no, I've got it. Yeah, I've got it lying around. I've got boxes of the shit, hey?
Yeah. I got boxes of stuff. I don't know what it does.
I don't know what it does. Will I ever look at it? One day we should have an unboxing party. We should bring all our nostalgic shit over.
Oh, yeah. We'll do it. Yeah, and we'll do a bit of a swapsies as well for, shit that you don't want. I don't want this one. Have this one, this picture for basketball.
I don't really want your nostalgic stuff.
Don't want that. I found a tape. It was a high 8 tape, which means it goes into one of those old cameras that you got to put the tape in. Yeah. And I put it in the camera and I fired it up. And it was the footage from my parents' trip to New Zealand where they just filmed themselves having dinner all the time, just in their Airbnb or whatever.
Your parents?
They just had the camera set up on the table and they'd sit down at the table and sort of eat dinner and chat for a bit. And I was like, you're like, oh, how is New Zealand? Oh, it's beautiful, like mountains and stuff. Oh, can I see? Not really, but you can see us chat about it at nausea for hours, which was hilarious. So because I'm looking for this old tape from, my teens that should exist still, of my first ever video project, which was a documentary called Steroid Use in Sport.
Classic.
It is classic, and I often think about shooting it again today, just from my memory banks, just trying to get all the shot lists together and being like, we'll just shoot it again.
Reshoot, a remake.
We're all still around. We should do it. You
probably need to have some more diversity in it though, because there was probably only young white men in it. But these days, you probably need a bit more of it. It's a bit like the Artemis 3 mission. The crew on that is, you got a woman, a black guy, a Canadian, and a normal white dude who's the commander.
What do you mean a normal white dude? What are you saying there? I'm a white guy? Is that what that means?
No, it's because
normal white dude.
Because the only people who have ever been to the moon are American white dudes.
Yeah, I know. They should all be ladies going up at Artemis, just to even the balance it up.
But now they've brought diversity into the space program and loving it. And Canadian. The Canadian's going to be the first non-American to go to the moon.
It's pretty good. That's pretty exciting. If they can get up on the thing.
About that. There's a guy called, I don't know what his name is. He does this. He's got this YouTube program called YouTube channel called Smarter Every Day, I think it is. Have you heard of him? Okay.
No. So is it me getting smarter every day or him getting smarter?
I think he's getting smarter every day. I think he is. Off. I don't know if I'll just check if it's him. I'll just
I think smarts is
smarter every day. Okay. And he does all, I haven't seen too much of his stuff. Apparently it's pretty good. He got a lot of viewers and stuff. But he did one where he spoke to people at NASA about they know that he's got a YouTube channel and stuff, but he's an engineer by trade. And so he does engineering experiments and things, and he talks about it in like a very
has he launched rockets before?
I don't know. No, he hasn't. Okay,
but I'm thinking of a different person then.
He spoke NASA, with a whole bunch of NASA employees about the moon, the Artemis moon mission and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and it was fascinating because he was pointing out that to get to the moon, apparently he was doing some math as he does. He was pointing out that there's a whole bunch of right now, if you're going to use the Starship to do, which they are planning on doing for Artemis,
of course,
that you're going to have to actually get a whole bunch of fuel into space to be able to make the journey to the moon, which I don't understand, because I thought that you could fart and get to the moon because there's no friction. I thought once you generate a bit of speed, I wouldn't have thought you need much fuel, but apparently you do. And you do. Apparently,
I just thought it would take longer, and the calculations have to be better.
Yeah, well, he says that he did some calculations, and he said you need at least 12 starships worth of fuel to get into orbit. And he pointed out to them, he goes, "Oh, how many do you actually need?" And they're like, "Oh, they don't know." He's like, "You're gonna need to know that. You need to know all the fundamental stuff. Like, what you're sending people to the moon, and you don't." And now since then they released it. NASA released an article about they need 15 starships of fuel or something to get into orbit to do it. Which, okay, and he goes, Apollo he put up a scoreboard and he said Apollo is on 6, Artemis is on 0. This is the fact of the matter. This is what we're dealing with. They're on 6, you're on 0. And he says to get this moving in the right direction, we have to,
which is up.
He's saying we need to keep it basic. It was one of his big things. We need to keep it simple, because he pointed out, he put up what the Apollo mission did to land on the moon, and essentially is just like go straight to the moon, and then you circle the moon for a bit. You do a burn. Because you have to wash off the speed. Once you're orbiting the moon, you need to do a reverse burn thing to slow you down.
Yeah, you're burning retro to slow down your forward speed, essentially. But you're going to get pulled to the moon at that point.
Yeah, because you're coming in, the gravity's, you're like slingshotting around the moon now. You're falling around it. So you need to slow down, firstly, So anyway, so you're talking about that. I think that's why you need a lot of fuel. But then he then showed what the Artemis landing sequence is, what they have to do. It's like this twirly figure 8 thing where you have to do all these burns. There's times where the spaceship's not going to have you're going to be in the dark, so to speak, where it can't communicate for short periods of time, which is apparently problematic. And he's pointing out how difficult it is now. And he's like, why are we doing it like this if this is what the Apollo mission did? It was really fascinating. It's like an hour 15 docker. And he goes,
I'll have to watch that. That actually sounds fascinating.
It's super fascinating.
And I guess the point like that you'd have to get to at the end of that, you'd be like, if they built a rocket where the end capsules are similar to the Apollo, how many fuel things do we need then? Like, how many did they need?
I don't think they needed any. They took it all with them.
Of course, they didn't have any in space ready for them to be picked up.
So what they have to do is they have to get all this fuel into orbit.
Is that because of the mass of Starship? Are we talking about? Is that because of the mass?
I don't think mass matters that much. I don't know.
A little bit.
It must matter, but because they just took it all with them, and they managed to take off. So they managed to take off from the moon when they had never been able to simulate that. Obviously that's the first time.
Yeah, but they kind of knew. They kind of knew. Up until then, had they landed anything on it before?
I don't think so. Oh, they would have landed a probe, but they didn't
take off with the probe.
They didn't take off with the probe. No, we crash land stuff on it now. You know, we can't even land on it. We can't even land probes properly now.
Yeah, but if you're like training in the desert to become an astronaut, you know, and they say, and you get into the ship at the end, and then they go, and then you press this, and that'll take off from the moon. And you go, and you've tested this before. And they're like, no, we can't test that because you're going to be the test for that. And then he looks at you like this. And then the scientist, like the guy who made the rocket, the engineer is just like, bro, it's gonna be easy as piss to get off that thing. Don't worry about that, man. We have to get you off this thing.
Yeah.
Like we have to get you off this first. And like crazy.
Have we talked about Gus Grissom before? Have you heard of Gus Grissom?
I might have heard the name, or you discuss him. I'll know more if you tell me more about it.
He was supposed to be the first guy to walk on the moon. He was a part of Apollo 1. He was actually he died in when did he die? 1967. But his crew was supposed to be the first crew that was going to go to the moon.
Right. What happened?
He was quite public about how poorly the tech was going. Right. He even got up on the top of the rocket and hung a big grapefruit-sized lemon as a thing, pointing to the media.
Bit of a protest.
Yeah, saying that this thing is a lemon. We're not going to be able to go to the moon. We're not going to be able to complete the mission. We need to get things moving. Blah blah blah. He was a big advocate. He talked to the media a lot about how poor it was. So,
let me guess. All crew members died in a fire during a launch pad test during January sometime.
They did. And the last thing he said is how he couldn't, the radio communication wasn't working properly. And he said, how are we going to get to the moon if we can't even communicate through 3 buildings? Next thing, fire. And they had just changed the configuration.
I've read it. I've heard it. Yeah. Oh, it's
and and the whole thing, they couldn't get them out of there because they just changed the orientation of the door. So now it was a pressurized compartment, but the door opened inwards, so they couldn't open. Normally, if the door's opening outwards,
well, it's hard to get your best work done when fucking old mate's going, "This is shit. You guys are shit. This fucking sucks. The tech here is shit. What the hell is this thing? What's this door thing? What is this thing? Do I connect these 2 wires together?" All of a sudden, there's a spark. You know. He's a tough customer, and they sounds like it's not good.
So his of course, this ties into the moon landing conspiracy. Of course, it's something that they point to, saying that he was never going to lie about a moon mission, and that
he didn't want to. They thought he wouldn't play ball, therefore he doesn't get to go to the moon.
That's what their position
is.
And his son and his wife say that he was killed by the CIA. He said that.
Well, he's more likely to be killed for like pointing out the flaws in the space program, because at the end of the day, it was a technological space race between Russia and the US, and they were fighting for technological dominance. So to say that your just tech sucks is sort of a bad look.
But he was saying that because he didn't want to die when he went to the moon. He's worried about his own safety because they had a program. They're like, safe. We're going to the moon.
You're safe on the moon, bro. You're safe on the moon, bro. It's here you got to worry about, man.
Yeah, apparently he went home the day before the fire and said that he was to his wife. This is what his wife says, that, there was a whole bunch of CIA agents around the launch pad today. I don't really know. He goes, he felt uncomfortable. He said, I don't really know why they're there.
Just muddy the water some more.
Yeah, exactly. And it could have, that's what she says. His son is a big advocate that he goes, no, he was killed by the CIA.
Yeah, I mean, he quite possibly was.
Or it was a tragic accident, because there was another 2 guys in there who I don't know what their story is. I don't know what they were telling their partner. But I think because he was the head of the crew and he was the most public, that everyone just, I think, conflates the crew with this guy.
Yeah, okay. Remember how before we went through the moon missions and we were talking about how much they brought back? Like, how much did we extract from the moon this time? What did we get? Like, the first time they brought shit back, they brought back 20 kilos. The second time, 34 kilos, 42 kilos, 76 kilos, 94 kilos, baby. And the last one, Apollo 17. Let me read you the facts on Apollo 17. Only Saturn V night launch. Landed in Taurus Littrow, which I assume is some pocket area of the moon. Rover on moon. First geologist on the moon. Apollo's last crewed moon landing. Surface EVA time, 22 hours. Samples returned, 110 kilograms. Right, so So first geologist on the moon, go ahead and say it, last geologist on the moon, he's gone up there, taken a taste, gone, this whole thing's cheese, right? Obviously, he's the geo. Yeah. They sent Robert Schoch up there and he's gone, mate, this is all man-made up here. This is bullshit up here. I just find it interesting that they sent up a geologist last and then went, all right, we're done. We're done.
Well, I don't know if this is true, but I hear that the head of the Apollo space program, von Braun, did a big trip to Antarctica prior to the 1969 moon landing. Meanwhile, you think you're feverishly working on the Apollo space mission, but Antarctica apparently it's well known that's the best place to get meteors and rocks from outer space is Antarctica because they're easy to spot.
And what? Like you send the head of the space program down to Antarctica to pick out some moon rocks for you. Don't know about that. I mean, he was a rocket scientist.
He's the only one.
He ain't a geologist. He's a rocket scientist. So
he was desperate. He was desperate.
Just give me some rocks. How many kilos? I don't care. Just get me some
as
rocks.
many as we can get.
What the hell is this? It's 21 kilos of rocks. Well, next time get me 34.3 kilos of rocks, and the time after get me 42.8 kilos. Anyway, it just says samples returned. It doesn't say rocks. It just says samples returned. So that could be anything. That could be little green men.
Feces. Yep.
Yep. Apollo cost $25.4 billion, or approximately $257 billion, when converted into 2023 money. Does that sound like a lot of money to you?
They spent, I think they would. This is one reason. There's whole articles about why we haven't returned to the moon, which is a fascinating idea. Yeah. One of them is, I think they spent 5% of GDP. I'm just going to find the article that I was looking at about this. When they were spending 5% per annum of GDP on the Apollo mission, which is ginormous. And that is one reason why they galvanized, they had 400,000 people working on it. They had huge amounts of money. They really sunk all their resources into doing this. That's what they say is why we haven't returned to the moon.
Okay, but like they just adjusted it, right? Okay. Here's the thing, man. You've got the Apollo program, which I just said they adjust it for today's money to be costing in the range of $257 billion, right?
Yeah.
So it costs you $257 billion or whatever to do a 6-year program, to eventually land a whole bunch of people on the moon and bring back hundreds of kilos of samples, as we've discussed. The Manhattan Project, just for comparison, cost $30 billion.
Okay.
Adjusted for 2023 money. So $2 billion at the time, 1945, $30 billion in today money. So you're talking about like 10 Apollo program, 10 nukes for one Apollo program.
That's a lot.
Like 10 Manhattan projects. And the money that they spent on R&D is the vast majority of the money. Okay, R&D is $20.2 billion of the cost, right? 20 out of 25 billion is R&D. Okay, now today R&D, right? R&D today costs a bit of money, right? We're sending people to the moon. We've done the R&D. It was done in the 60s, right?
Been there, yeah. Spent the money.
Done
got the T-shirt
before.
Yep.
Spent the money before. We've done it before.
But destroyed the plants.
Way harder now.
Yeah, I know. It does seem weird.
So did we find out how much they spend on their space program?
Okay, so this is this article about why it's so hard to send humans back to the moon. Points out that we've sent 12 astronauts to the surface of the moon between 69 and 72 before the explosion of modern technology, and points out why is it so complex. There isn't one easy answer, but it comes down to money, politics, and priorities. I would have thought technology is like the overarching thing in that, but
I think it's money, man. NASA's annual budget is $25 billion. So in order to do an Apollo program, they need to dedicate 10 years of the budget.
Yeah,
10 years.
Now they've been scaling NASA down a lot, but now you've got commercial actors in space. They've actually outsourced.
True.
Like Starship is, you've outsourced that whole
the R&D,
all the difficulty.
All
yeah, all you needed. They just need to design the spacesuits, which is apparently a source of delay.
Oh shit!
That makes me wild.
Like that NASA are just building uniforms now and like leaving the space travel to other people. Jeez, man, they're gonna get found out, man. It's going to happen.
It's just a marketing arm now. So at its peak, NASA was consuming 5% of the entire federal budget, and more than half of that was devoted to the Apollo program. Accounting for inflation, the entire Apollo program would cost over $260 billion in today's dollars. This was, I think this article was this year actually. Okay, so
I was just talking about the 260 bill. That's for the whole Apollo program.
Yeah. And that's going from zero, though. That's going from that's going from like we don't have.
I know.
I mean, they barely even went into space. I mean, they only went into space in the early 60s. So today, NASA commands less than 0.5% of the total federal budget, with a much broader range of priorities.
You say 0.5%?
0.5%.
So 1% would be 50 billion. So 5% would be 250 billion. 250 billion is the old, if we adjusted it for today, budget of NASA. That's pretty wild.
Well, they say they've spent $90 billion on the Artemis program. But see, the Apollo program was 6 successful moon landings. Like maybe it will get easier to churn them out once we've done one. Like maybe they did one for like 200 billion and then the last 5 only cost 60 billion. You know, maybe.
Well, like I said, it was like 20 billion was R&D and the rest of the 5 billion is the actual stuff.
Yeah.
It's all R&D.
Doesn't seem so. It says here, naturally, with less money going to a new moon landing, we're likely to make slower progress, even with advancements in technology. The technology should be so far superior, 50 plus years. It's not just advancements in technologies, it's leaps and leaps in technology.
But did we just give up on the leaps? Like when the space race ended, the leaps stopped. No one went, right, race. If Russia and America, right, when they went, if they handshook after the moon landing and said, nice work, America, good try, Russia, first one to Mars is the best, motherfucker. And then it was like the race to Mars next, you know what I mean? Who can get boots on Mars? Maybe the space race would still be happening. We'd still have like this bursting of technological stuff happening, but maybe we're just in a bit of a like, where is all the money going for research these days? Is it into like unmanned weapons? Like, is that where all the money's going?
I know that the US is looking at putting jetpacks on all their satellites at the moment. So even satellites that were deployed without maneuverability capabilities, they've engaged a contractor to figure it out, to attach jetpacks.
What, to zip up jetpacks to what satellites?
You attach
to keep them in orbit or what?
To enable them first, to enable them to change orbits, and probably also extend their life, maybe, rather than because they do slowly.
Yeah.
But I thought they can do that themselves. I thought they have they have the ability to just boost themselves up a bit. Anyway, they're attaching jetpacks for maneuverability purposes.
Dodging shit.
Hey, this is interesting though.
Dodging shit? Is that what we're talking about?
Perhaps, yeah.
What, like all the debris we fucking left up there?
Yeah, it doesn't really go anywhere, does it? It hangs around. So,
and what happens to the jets after they've been used? Do they just get jettisoned into the fucking
I reckon they'll just go down with the ship. I assume once they're attached, they're attached for good. I don't think they. Yeah, that's my guess. It's a jetpack, Michael. What could possibly go wrong? So there's this new, AI is doing all this shit now, right? There's some AI program, don't know what it's called, don't ask me, but you can feed it photographs and it will tell you whether the photo is fake or real. And apparently it's not wrong. It's like, when I say it's not wrong, I say there's the potential for it to be wrong, but it's not likely to be wrong. They fed it some photos of the recent Indian probe that of moon landing photos.
Okay.
And the AI said, it's a real photo. Nothing got triggered. So none of the Indian Changi lander photos. They fed it photos of the moon landings, said fake, 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 fake. For these reasons, fake background, fake foreground. Some of them small. They said it's miniatures. And they fed it all. This is in front of Putin. Putin didn't bat an eyelid. He was just like, mm-hmm.
What do you mean it was in front of Putin?
In front of Putin. They were demonstrating the technology. It was a demonstration of the AI technology.
Come on, man. This is propaganda now.
Yeah. Well, it didn't. This is the weird thing.
Think about it from this perspective. Look at the look it is.
What do you mean?
Well, it's a guy showing the Russian president, look at my software. What does it do? Well, it exposes the US for faking moon landings.
Well, I think they were doing. But apparently, he didn't even raise an eyelid. The guy who's the conspiracy. Well, I mean, wouldn't he be like, hey, wouldn't they point this out? Be like, hey, well, what's with this? Like asking a question, or shouldn't the Russian media maybe be saying, like, because what this conspiracy guy was saying, he goes. He thinks this is what he says about why Russia and China. He thinks they know the moon landing's fake, but he says that they are blackmailing the US for technologies and other things as for not saying anything, which seems crazy, but it does play into the fact he says that on RT, their Russian TV thing. He posted in one of the comments saying he says he occasionally posts on there and nothing's ever been removed. He said, why didn't you cover in detail, like say something more about Putin being shown the AI detecting fake moon photographs, because RT didn't cover it at all. And he says this should be if Russia was interested in pointing the finger, if this was exposing it in any way, you think they would at least go, Putin would be like, oh, it's interesting. Yeah, maybe it is fake or something. But he didn't bat an eyelid. Nothing was said about it. And they moved on. But
we don't know what this AI program's doing.
We got no idea. We have no idea. It's interesing that it.
Oh, so good.
That it. I mean, have a look at that video out of curiosity.
I guarantee you that the people who were pulling shit off before the birth of the internet never counted on it. Like
exactly,
anyone who was trying to get away with shit in the 50s and the 30s and the 20s and 18th century and all this sort of shit, they were never counting on us being able to
the scrutiny,
and just the amount of information and the accessibility, and it can only it's as good as it is evil, really.
And one thing I think is all those photos and videos are sort of fourth generation now, in that apparently none of the originals exist of any of the moon stuff. Apparently there's no originals anymore. They're copies of a copy of a copy. So that could be something that's triggering the AI.
Yeah, you do get degradation and stuff like that. You'll have artifacts.
But the
funny thing is they'll be able to trace the genealogy of those copies, because they'll be like, oh, we have this copy of this copy. And when this copy hits this copy, you get this copy. So and fascinating story. I'm just going to I'll finish off with this. About 15 years ago, sometime like that, maybe 14 years ago, somewhere around there, I walked into a record store in Sydney, picked up a Pink Floyd disc off the shelf, went, it's got no writing on it. It's just in a clear plastic sleeve. It's got a picture disc of the Dark Side of the Moon thing, and that's it. And it had a price tag. And I was like, hey, man, buy. Yeah. Took it home, put it on. Didn't sound particularly great. It was a live recording of Pink Floyd. I believe it's a bootleg. That's what I thought at the time. Finally just actually spent some time with the record last week and had a look at the spine and found a serial number, punched it in, found all the info on it. It's fascinating. These bootlegs are just out there.
So when's it from?
It's from about 1984. It was the Dark Side of the Moon being performed at Wembley in 74. So it's a recording from Wembley, which I believe was called Empire Pool or something back then. 1974, we're performing Dark Side of the Moon in front of all these fucking people. So it's really it's quite a cool bit of history, really, but not something that I would. It's just really fun. I don't know why I got reminded of it.
I don't understand vinyl.
Probably just something we were talking about.
Vinyl seems more complex to me than computers. Freaks me out. The fact it's just like it's physical. Yeah, it's like a landscape.
It's almost like a waveform, sort of. But I don't get it either. It's probably bullshit as well. There's probably a CD player in your vinyl machine somewhere that you can't see, and it's all horseshit. Yeah. Anyway, that is it for the week. I'm Val. He's Nate. And we'll be back talking the same level of nonsense as
high
this
level.
Week.
Yeah,
high level.
Yeah.
We hope you found something in this episode that got your interest, and if it happened, let us know where that bit was, because
I'd like to know.
Yeah, where's your bit?
Yeah, where's your bit? Where's your bit? Show us your bits.
Do a bit of a plug of this at the start of the episode. You should be
next
like,
time.
Tell us your bit in the comments. All right, next time we'll do that. See you next week.
See you, mate.